All right, go ahead and roll for perception.
I got a 13.
Hey, that's pretty good. With that, you can tell there's some fantasy situations going on. You hear some adult language, and with that, you can tell this podcast probably isn't for kids. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Dungeon Cast. I'm Brian.
And I'm Will.
This is the podcast where we talk about everything Dungeons & Dragons, from shadowy shanties to shrouded shamans. And today we have a special guest on the show.
Hi, I'm Eric Silver, DM of Join the Party, a real play 5e podcast that is bringing in new players to the gaming world.
That's awesome. And what are we talking about today, Eric?
Today we are breaking down the monk.
Prepare yourselves. I cast Fireball. The Dungeon Cast.
Gentlemen, let's talk about the monk. I'm gonna be honest. The monk is the class that I am the least experienced with. I have never run a monk, and I have actually never ran a game in all my games in all my years. I've never ran a game with a player that played a monk.
That's really interesting. You got very close with one of our players in another game you DM'd where they almost ran a monk. That was,
Did I?
That was Jake, our other special guest that we have on the show sometimes.
Okay, so Brian, I know you don't have any experience with monk.
I sure don't.
Eric, what is your experience with the monk?
So one of my first games that I ever played in D&D was I rolled up a monk. I was super attracted to the class, and I think there's a lot of fun things that goes along with it, especially if you're really invested to character building. So I made a dwarf monk, a dwarf pirate monk, and his name was Brother Budinger Weisenheimer. So he was, and everyone just called him Budweiser, of course.
Yeah,
nice.
And he was like an outcast. He was like thrown from his what do you call the places where people from monks study?
Monasteries.
Yeah, he was thrown out of his monastery for being different. It was like humans were basically the race that was in the monastery, and then he went out and he was a cook on a pirate ship. So he had brewing skills and he had cooking skills.
Nice.
Of course.
So whenever we would go to a new town, I would run into the nearest inn and then run into the newest into the kitchen and just say I was cooking something.
Okay.
I invented jalapeno poppers in our third game session.
Yes.
Yes.
I ran into the kitchen and I'm like, I'm rolling for jalapeno poppers. I got like a 16 and my DM gave it to me.
He was like, yeah, you come
nice.
up with the breading, you come up with the cream cheese. Exactly. Excellent.
Okay, so you've played one, so you have a little experience.
Yes.
I would say that I think the monk is a fascinating class, and it is very different from every other class in this game, and it's got a weird history too. And we'll talk a little bit about that. The monk dates all the way back to first edition. Believe it or not, despite the fact of it being kind of off the beaten trail. Like every other class in this game has some sort of European origin. Like how many times on this podcast have I used the word Celtic or Norse or Germanic?
Oh man, so much.
It's like every other episode.
Yeah, especially the Fae.
Well, this one doesn't have a European origin. Okay, so Brian Bloom is the creator of this class. He created it in a first edition supplemental book called Blackmoor. And he claims that he based the idea of the monk off of a book series called The Destroyer, which he read, which is basically like a ninja cop, like ninja government agent kind of series.
Oh shit!
In modern America, but it's also steeped in Hindu mythology.
So you're reading a book that's talking about like modern America, and this is where you draw your inspiration for the monk,
right? And okay, I'm just going to be honest. I'm calling bullshit on this.
Okay.
I'm calling bullshit because the fact of the matter is, like, the monk is a blatant take on Shaolin monks from ancient China, from key monks from the Key Temple in Tibet. And yeah, I mean, it's just blatantly a take on that. Like, I'm sorry, bro, it's not your Ninja Cop book series. I don't know. I just don't see it. That's my take. But the monks, so it was introduced in a supplement in first edition. Then it disappeared for second edition for a time until enough fans wanted it back where they reintroduced it.
Okay.
When they reintroduced it, they renamed it the Mystic. which is an interesting name because there's another class that also goes by that name sometimes. And they called it the Mystic, I think, because of the fact that monks, though they are physical warriors, they often have these supernatural abilities. Which
Yeah,
are,
you mentioned it earlier, like a key warrior. That's like your spiritual energy, right?
yes, there's this whole key thing. But also, like, I've also seen in some editions where the monk is inherently tied to psionic abilities.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Fourth edition, it was a psionic class for whatever fucking reason. Either way, like there's a certain mysticism to some of the things they can do, and ki or chi, however you want to pronounce it in D&D and in actual Buddhism, is described as a life force that permeates the universe.
Yes.
And so the concept of this class is like monks through massive amount of discipline and massive amount of like tradition and sacrifice, asceticism. They are able to tap into that life force, harness it, and manipulate it, and do all kinds of crazy shit with it.
As a Dragon Ball fan, this is speaking to me.
Oh yeah. Speaking of
absolutely.
Yes.
yeah, absolutely. For me, growing up, like outside of DBZ, like I wasn't into anything that of the martial arts persuasion.
Yeah, you were all about like fantasy.
Yeah, that and Pokemon, like those are my two
Hell
as a
yeah.
kid. Like, and so like it was never a big thing to me. So like the monks, like really this like strange anomaly to me. But I'm after reading through everything over the last few days on the monk, I'm like, fuck, this class is cool as shit. Like I need to run one of these next time. If my character dies, Brian, I'm rolling a monk. I'm just letting you know.
Right
Do
on.
it.
We can definitely work that in.
definitely do it. Absolutely
Yeah.
do it.
So
Yeah.
what's your favorite thing about running the monk, Eric?
I think that there's a lot of opportunity to be versatile. The monk can fill a lot of roles where you don't have it in the party, depending on what path you take it on as you go farther into development. You can be super resourceful. You can be a combo maker and you can hit people a bunch of times, a lot like a fighter.
Mm-hmm.
You can be resourceful, and you can be sneaky if you want to be in the shadows, or you can kind of be like fill in some magic if you guys don't have a lot of spellcasters. Really, it also gives you a lot of chances to do strange things with the game mechanics. Like you are doing actions that you would never do unless you were playing a monk. Or it's like a combination of like all of the battle techniques that you have with a fighter with all of the strange actions you can take as a rogue. So
Yeah,
it's like
shit, that
there's a
sounds
lot
awesome.
it's a lot of knocking people prone. It's a lot of like being careful. Like when you grab something out of the air, that feels like you're also being defensive at the same time. It's really pushing you to be the best player you can be and use the full gamut of game mechanics.
Oh, that's really cool.
I definitely agree. The monk stands out. Okay, so like you said, the monk is incredibly versatile, much like a
It's like a jack of all trades character, like we've been talking about
yes,
lately.
Yes, kind of like the bard. It
Yeah.
falls into that same wheelhouse, but at the same time, it's so drastically different from like a bard or a rogue.
I was going to say that I think that there are two types of people. There are bard people and there are monk people.
Yeah,
That's
and
interesting.
they're definitely not the same people. Yeah, I agree with that. So so let's. The monk is incredibly physically capable, much like a fighter or a rogue would be, but at the same time, they have access to almost like this pseudo magic.
Right.
They don't cast spells, but the shit they pull off might as well be spells.
Okay.
And sometimes, like, they literally just can spend ki to cast the equivalent of a spell.
So that's their special resources, their key.
Their keys are special resource, but like, there's more to them than that. Okay, so the way I see it, features for the monk kind of fall into three categories.
Okay.
The number one category is they're capable of superhuman bullshit. Like, yeah, it's just
That's a defined category. Is
yeah,
bullshit.
like exactly. It's a defined category.
I swear to God, I read that in the
Superhuman
player's
bullshit.
handbook. It's in there.
Yeah.
Superhuman bullshit. It's right here.
yeah, you just
Yes.
go to the index and like, oh, bullshit, and then you just flip through and go some
The second category is they have a lot of stuff that's really specialized when it comes to mobility.
Okay.
And then the final thing is their magic or their pseudo magic, if you will. So let's talk a bit about like stuff that they can do. So when it comes to superhuman stuff, I mean, like they channel ki and they're not spending key points for this. They have faster reflexes. They're just stronger than normal. let's see, what are some of their features? Number one, they get unarmored defense, which just means when they're not wearing armor, they get to add their wisdom on top of their dex.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so they're not super tanky, but like they're pretty sturdy.
They can avoid those big
Yeah.
hits if they need to.
I really love armor defense for just for role playing reasons. I think that when
Yeah.
you envision D&D players, like they want their guys to be walking around with these massive plate armors with like Skyrim style horns on
Oh,
them.
yeah.
And
These
they're
big
like
ass
swinging
bolts.
axes. Yeah. But really, if you're unarmored, you can just run around and be yourself. I think this also like puts a
True.
lot of pressure on people who like don't want to be traditional heroes, whether we're talking about like people who don't envision themselves as like being super crafty edgelords or being like big beefy heroes. And even like this gives an opportunity for women to really find their space. I mean, no one's expecting them to wear chainmail bikinis if you want to play a
Right,
barbarian or a
yes.
fighter, and like
Yeah.
no one wants you to be support, so you can just like stand there in a white robe, like you can be whoever you want to be, and that's what I
Yeah.
love
That's
the most about
interesting.
it.
That's very cool.
I can agree with that. Some of the stuff that falls into like the superhuman category, their staple ability called Flurry of Blows, which is their all monks get it. It's you can spend a key point and just do, I think it's 2 extra attacks.
Nice.
Like as a bonus action, so that's 3 attacks.
Well, hell
And
yeah.
You're doing that like by level 2.
You're just
later-
hitting people with your bow staff. Like, what else are you gonna do?
Yeah, exactly. You're just whacking the shit out of them.
I like to imagine monks with like some kind of brass knuckle deal going on. And when I hear flurry of blows, it makes me really excited to like punch the hell out of somebody.
yeah.
Oh,
another-
there's a modified version of brass knuckles that like you have associated with some monk order. It's called like the Wheels of Wind and Fire, and
dope.
they're like
Fuck
like
yes.
it's I guess I can't pick a Ninja Turtle. That's not exactly what I was looking for. But like imagine they're brass knuckles, but instead of a knuckle, it's like a semicircle of spikes and blades.
Yes.
So
Oh,
then you can
shit.
like
I can-
swipe people with it, and like people really use that. That was suggested in like a monk build that I saw. If you want to reflavor your weapons, whatever weapons you want,
Yeah.
I am with
monk
that.
weapons or Asian inspired weapons, you can use these, and it just looked crazy
Yeah.
as hell.
Yeah, that's another cool thing about the monk is you'll see all these exotic weapons you wouldn't normally see that are really
Yes.
cool. Later on, you're going to get an ability called deflect missiles, which is just an inherent ability to make a saving throw and catch missiles if they're thrown at you.
Yes.
And if you,
Yes.
I forget how it works exactly.
Oh, it's not. Wait, sorry, it's not. I just have the thing here. It's
Okay,
not a
you got
saving
it?
throw. It's a reaction. So you can
Oh
just
yeah,
do
you
it.
just use a reaction. Oh, I remember what it is.
Yeah, I don't know if you
use
want to
it-
redo that, but sorry, I just have
No,
the
no,
thing
no,
on
that's
it.
fine. No, we usually don't edit things out. We just go.
Yep, we just go for it.
So with deflect missiles, he's right. It's a reaction, and you reduce the damage from the missile by a D10 plus your dex plus your monk level. And if you
Holy shit.
if you reduce the damage to 0, you get to catch the missile, and I think even throw it back. Possibly, I'm not sure about.
Yeah,
that.
you can
What's
spend
that?
1 key point to throw it back, and then you make a ranged attack.
There you go. Like I
Sick.
said, just superhuman
Really
bullshit.
sick.
Later on, you get slow fall, which is just you reduce falling damage by a multiple of 5.
Oh, nice.
So
That's
yeah,
handy.
Yeah. So it's ridiculous.
Okay, cool.
What I love about that is not even slow fall. Like they just call it slow fall. It's just
Yeah.
like, nah, you're gonna land on your face, but it's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Again, superhuman bullshit.
It's
Later,
like
you're
it's chill though. You're gonna go like Dragon Ball fall from like the exosphere, and then you're just gonna be like, yeah, you get up with a crater around you.
yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
I'm so into this. That's so cool.
Later on, you get a ability called Stunning Strike, which you spend, I think, just 1 key point, and you can just fucking stun your enemy. I think they might have to make a saving throw or something, but yeah, you just stun an enemy just because you know that perfect angle to just get them right between the ribs or whatever.
You hit him
whatever
right
it
in the
is.
chakra.
Yeah, exactly. You hit him right in the chakra.
Right in the chakra.
Did you so does stun mean that your opponent that enemy is going to lose a turn pretty much?
I think pretty much it's lose a turn. I'm getting it mixed up with 4E. So in 4E, you basically lose a turn. So I
Okay.
think it's the same in 5E.
or maybe you have like disadvantage or something like that.
Something
I would
like
imagine,
that. Either
yeah.
way, it's a debilitating thing.
Yeah.
Later on, you get Purity of Body, which just makes you immune to disease. And then here's a great one: Timeless Body. You get this at level 17. You don't age anymore.
Oh, that shit sounds like the druid.
You still die of old age.
Right,
But you just
okay.
don't age. And you also don't need to eat or drink. You're good.
You just keep that clean sexy
Yeah.
on you.
You just feed off that life stream and you're good to go.
Sweet.
Yeah.
That's really good.
After level 10, you just become like godly. It's crazy. It's not even
Yeah,
like you're not even
it's
getting
crazy.
skills anymore. It's just like you're no longer human. You're like 50% key. You're 50%
Yeah,
key.
yeah.
shit.
It really does seem like that. And I think there's a whole theme behind the monk where they're like trying to attain a perfect form. That's kind of like their deal, especially if you take the way of the open hand, which we'll get into after we take the long rest. We'll get into that. But let's talk about mobility, because that is a thing with the monks, and they got a few abilities that like kind of specialize with that. So in mobility, the first one I think of is unarmored movement, which you just get an extra 10 feet of movement if you're not wearing armor, which you're not because you're a fucking monk. So that on top of being an elf, and then imagine if you take the mobility feat, I got like 75 feet of movement, bitch.
Holy crap.
Yeah, it's insane.
Don't they have those contests all over Reddit about how fast you can make the fastest person? So it's like
Right.
you're a wood elf plus a monk, and then you're like a barbarian, so then you rage, and then you're like you do
Oh,
strength checks to
shit.
try to do a dash. Or no, then you're a fighter,
Fuck.
and then you can use all of your action surges to dash. And it's like
True.
comparing is like, hey, is your D&D character the Flash? Is your D&D character Usain Bolt?
I love that.
This is great. I'm really finding out a lot about like building super characters lately.
Yes.
Like in our Bard episode, we talked about building Link from Legend of Zelda and like what you would have to do to make this character happen.
Oh, yeah.
Insanity. Really.
Yeah,
into
and I would
this.
say the monk reminds me the most of like a superhero. Other mobility things they get evasion, which basically this one's really cool. When they make dexterity saves against like spells and shit like that,
Yeah.
if they save, no more half damage. They just don't take damage. They're just that quick.
What?
Yeah. Again, this mobility / superhuman bullshit. And they get a few other things like that.
Okay.
I'm looking at the evasion description, and
Yeah.
here's what it says in the Dungeon Master's Guide. When you're subjected to an effect that allows you to make a dexterity, your instinctive agility lets you dodge out of the way of certain area effects, such as a blue dragon's lightning breath or a fireball spell. And I'm like, okay, let's just put the most powerful things that you'll find in this game. And the monk's just like, nah, I'm not having it. Like, it's fine. Like
yeah,
dragons.
very much
That's
so.
That's
No, you
good
can't-
advertising if I've ever heard it.
That's
yeah,
hilarious.
dodge blue dragon lightning. Hell yes.
So, but before we get into the traditions, I kind of want to talk about monk concepts. I'm gonna talk about common ones because I'm less familiar with like a lot of like really cool ass reflavorings, like I am in most of our class breakdown episodes. But some of the stuff you'll see a lot of is like a ninja assassin. You know, so
Okay.
a lot of people will run a monk to be a ninja assassin and then take like the way of the shadow or whatever. A lot of times you'll see like the wandering warrior, the old man
Ryu?
wandering around, Ryu looking for enlightenment, looking to better themselves, just wandering the land looking for that zen. And
He's looking to control the Satsu no Hado.
there we go. That.
Okay.
Wait,
Here's one.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I think that people feel a little boxed in by the idea of training. Like our ideas about monks are that they're these Asian, ripoffs of like kung fu movies. It's like they
Right.
live in
Yes.
the mountains. They don't talk to anybody else. They have to like live their entire life, and then they're like awkward and loners. They're kind
Right.
of something. I'm trying to think of an example.
They're not acclimated to society.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're
like,
just trying to like
almost-
achieve some kind of like inner strength or inner peace, and
Yeah.
instead of like accomplishing like other things. I guess.
like they have
Yeah.
to be aliens. And I think that
Yeah.
Right.
this really gives people a chance to stretch this idea of backstory in your world. I mean, you don't have to be Bruce Lee. You can be Daredevil if we're talking about
Oh God, I
superheroes.
was about to bring up Daredevil. No shit, I was literally about to bring him up. But continue.
The thing is that Daredevil is a monk.
He
has
is,
blind
he
sense.
is.
He does usually unarmored combat with a very simple martial weapon. So that's literally everything you need to know from a monk. He doesn't really have hard armor, but then you literally have directly opposed to him is Iron Fist, and which is literally a ripoff of kung fu movies from the 70s and 80s.
Right.
So
Yep,
it's like I
absolutely.
would much rather run Daredevil than run just some dude who can be One Punch Man when he wants to.
Fucking
that's-
Saitama.
Fucking Danny Rand.
Have you guys seen? You guys have watched Daredevil, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, dude. Oh,
That
fuck
hallway fight scene.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
That's in
Yes.
one take.
Yeah.
That makes me tired just thinking about it. Maybe we should take a short rest.
All right, let's do it.
All right.
I'm so tired. I can't talk about it anymore. Iron Fist
All right.
is just too much. I can't do it.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the part of the show where we stop talking about that last thing. Don't even think about that anymore. We're going to talk about something else. And today we're going to start with our special guest, Eric Silver. Eric, do you want to talk about who you are exactly and what it is you do a little more in depth?
Sure thing. I'm the DM of Join the Party. We are a collaborative storytelling and role-playing podcast. We're really, there are so many 5e podcasts out there, and everyone is doing great work and having a lot of fun, but we're trying to make a space for people who don't play D&D to learn a little bit about D&D and getting a foothold in there. So we're hoping that our podcast is for newbies and gaming veterans alike. We're also all audio people, so we're really committed to making the best podcast that we can
Yes.
for whoever's listening.
Absolutely.
Yes. Oh, those are my sound nerds out there. I hear you. You're all cheering for me. So it's like we are all taking on important things that we think we're all taking on important features of podcasts that we think are important for a great listening experience. I am DMing, so I'm running this game. I'm storytelling. I'm making space for as many different types of people and characters to live inside this fantasy world. Brandon, who plays our Warforged robot barbarian, designation TR8C.
Yes.
He is also our sound guy. So he spends all the time putting great mics in front of us and editing and mixing and composing music to make everything sound quite beautiful. Amanda is our flippy assassin teen, Anara. She is also a newcomer to D&D, so she's learning just as much along with everybody else. And she's really responsible for giving this perspective for not only new players, but the representation and being like a woman on this podcast and having an openly queer character who's just running around and flipping and stabbing
That's some
people.
great representation on all fronts, I feel.
Yeah. And finally, we have Mike. We have like so many names for him. We have Michael Fichet, also Fish, who is our resident nerd, DM who's been playing since he was like 12,
Oh, dang.
and he's playing our magic user, Johnny B. Goodlight, patron of the Undying Light, who lights everything, aglow as he walks.
That's awesome.
Wicked. That's awesome.
So we're messing with game mechanics. We care about the story. We care about the listeners, and we're really making it easy for people to come in. We have these beginner episodes in episode 1 and 2 where we literally come in and tell you how to play D&D. Like we have little like comments where we come in and like explain how it works.
Yeah.
We have transcripts. We have transcripts for people who are hard of hearing or audio just really isn't their thing. And we're just open. Like, please talk to us. Please email us. Please hit us up on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at Join the Party Pod. And you can email us at jointhepartypod@gmail.com.
Awesome. And I've listened to more than a couple of your episodes, and it's high quality audio. I'm telling you that right now. It's really good production. You guys do a good job.
Yeah, you guys are doing a great stuff out there, definitely.
I really like the commentary and how you kind of like explain when something happens. Well, this is how this works and whatnot, and explaining it to newbies. That's really cool. And then also I like how you have the after party episodes to kind of go over what happened. It's really neat. It's a really cool concept. I like it a lot.
Oh, that's right. We do so much I literally forgot about. So after we release every episode, we have the after party where we talk about D&D, a lot like these guys right here, but we're trying to be specific to what we just discussed and played through in the game. So we take listener questions, we break down what could have happened, to some D&D mechanics as well, and really trying to focus it on the episode. So even if you're a beginner, our 1 and 2 episodes are just the ones where the comments come in, and then you're on your own you like fly your little gamer wings and you can get out of the nest. But we trust you, and we're always going to have the after party there. If you have a question or you want to know, you have some ideas about you have some thoughts about what had just happened.
Awesome.
Very cool.
So, to all our listeners out there, if you're looking for a new 5e podcast to get into, I think Join the Party is probably the best place to start.
It's a really good show.
Go check 'em out.
I definitely recommend it. So I guess we'll move on to our thing over here.
Yeah, let's bump ourselves.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Oh, hey, do you guys have anything to plug on your own podcast?
Absolutely. We always plug ourselves. Thank you guys out there for all the new listeners that we've been seeing roll in. Really appreciate it. The growth is astounding and very flattering, and the constructive criticism and feedback that we've been getting from everybody, it's really helpful, and we like to implement those things into the show. So once again, to you, the listener, thank you so much for being here and making it to this part of the show. We pretty much announced our contest winners last time.
We did.
So-
And don't worry, folks. For those of you that didn't win the contest, we'll have another contest. I'm working on something.
Yeah, we like to run those little things for you guys and to help spread the word. So if you do want to keep tweeting about the show, go ahead and tweet out about it and let your friends know. If there's somebody that wants to learn more about D&D, go ahead and let them know about the show. Just tell somebody, and it would really help us out a lot. You can find us on soundcloud.com/thedungeoncast. You can find us on YouTube. Just search the Dungeon Cast. You can get us on all the podcast apps. And if you're using iTunes, please leave us a rate and subscribe. That really helps the traction for the show, and we would appreciate it a lot. But other than that,
I think the short rest is over, Brian.
yeah, man, those hit die, they feel good.
All right, let's get
go.
back to the show.
All my spell slots are filled.
Hell yes. I think we're all back up and ready.
Yeah. All right. So we've talked quite a bit about like the origin of the monk, types of things monks can do. We've talked about different like archetypes of monks we've seen. Let's talk about the 3 traditions, which is the defining kind of split of paths in the player's handbook for the monk. But before we just dive in, Eric, your monk, what kind of monk was it? What tradition did you choose?
All right, I'm going to admit something. I did not get far enough to get all the way to level 3. I was level 1 and 2. And here is actually one of my biggest problems with the monk. Oh my God, give us some key earlier.
Oh yeah,
Like
that sounds hard.
I can't do anything cool with only 2 key points from level 2.
Yeah.
Like if I
And
grab
level 1,
if I grab something out of the air, I have to think about if I'm going to use 50% of my points to throw it back. If I want to use
Right.
Flurry of Blows, I mean, it's dope, but am I going to waste it just like I'm the first monster that I see in a campaign? And
yeah.
who even knows? I know it's really nice that they give the key back with the short rest, but some DMs don't really use short rests. So
It's
you're
true.
kind of stuck until like 1 or 2 sessions go by and you guys do a long rest.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
It's something that comes up in the game too. Is like, when do I blow my big attack?
Right.
Like, or
it's
do
a
I just
thing.
hold it forever? Like my what are they?
Like my
Ethers and
ethers.
yeah, in Pokemon.
Use one of your ethers. He's you can't buy these in a shop. You have 83 of them.
It's the final battle.
So, okay, but first let's talk on that. Yes, level 1 is very difficult for a monk, and level 2 is not much better.
It's squishy for everybody.
Some classes it's rough like that. The paladin has a fucking wretched level 1. But level 2, you become amazing. Other cleric like the cleric and fighter, you have a fucking amazing level 1, and you're like a god. But yeah, the monk definitely has a rough first couple levels. But Eric, did you have a plan for which tradition you wanted your monk to go down?
I did. I was going to be the open hand. I just really like the idea of punching people in the face really hard.
Oh, me too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And-
Okay, so go ahead.
You know, I just like the feeling of punching someone really hard and punching them a bunch of times. I had a bow stick,
Don't
so
we
I just
all?
really wanted to whack people with it. And
sure.
yeah, I can say I'm a little influenced by the kind of kung fu that I saw, but the other that felt like the most truest to the monk that I wanted to play, someone who was working with unarmed attacks, people who were just focused on like delivering hurt through their bodies, as opposed to the other
yeah.
two where
Right.
you have like kind of a rogue, where you have a rogue stand-in, and like being the avatar is cool, but I should have just been a sorcerer.
Right. I see where you're coming from there. Okay, so like a lot of classes that we've talked about, more than a few of them have a certain path they can take that is just the like, I want to be a better version of what I already am. Like the fighter has the champion.
Yes.
The rogue has the thief. The bard has the lore bard.
Yeah.
The warlock has the Book of Shadows, the path of I forget what that path's called. The open hand, the way of the open hand technique is that for the monk.
Super
this
monk.
is you become the super monk. Your flurry of blows just gets better. Now on top of extra damage, you can choose to prone the enemy, push them 15 feet, or just make it so they can't make any reactions for a turn.
That sounds like the Battle Master. You get
Yes.
a lot of versatility in that
yes,
way.
you get some tactics kind of in there.
Interesting.
Later on, you're going to get this wholeness of body ability where you can heal yourself equivalent to HP equal to 3 times your level.
Oh, sick.
So you just become more durable. You can heal yourself. You're just a little bit better. Tranquility is a feature you get later, which is, okay, I want to get this straight the first time I say it because it's a little confusing. You basically, from the moment you're awake to the moment you fall asleep, constantly have the spell Sanctuary going on.
Okay.
Which I think the way that spell works is that if someone attacks you, you have automatic advantage on, or they have automatic disadvantage until you attack them back. So you just constantly got this like aura of protection about
Oh
you.
shit! Like you're automatically gonna fuck up if you come near me.
Yeah, so you're just automatically just auto better.
Cool.
Yeah,
But here's
it's not even
Go ahead.
that. Sorry, I literally
Go
just
ahead. No,
brought
go
it up.
ahead.
It's not even that like they mess up. It's like they can't touch you. It's like if they
Yeah.
fail a wisdom save, then they have to pick a new target, or they just
Yes.
can't do it.
Oh
yeah,
man.
that's absolutely right. It's more than just protection. Yeah.
Also,
But
it's a
here's the-
bonus action too, which is like
Uh-huh.
kind of. I don't know if it's for the monk, but like just like the spell itself
spell?
is a bonus
Yeah.
action, and like that's just nasty.
Bonus
yeah,
action's
well,
broken.
no. With the monk, it's worse, or not worse. It's even more powerful. With the monk, it's no action. It is automatic all the time
Oh
from
my
waking to
God.
sleep. Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, and the only time it's not on is when you're asleep. Okay, but here's the kicker. When then this is like to me like I would love to get to level 17 for this fucked up ability.
Oh my God,
Called quiver. It's called Quivering Palm. Now get
Okay.
this. When you get this ability, you are capable of, when you strike someone, you spend 3 key points, and you are able to cause imperceptible vibrations throughout their entire body that last a number of days equal to your monk level, so 17 to 20 days depending.
What?
Yeah, it gets worse. At any point during those days, no matter how far away from them you are, if they're on the same plane of existence, you can use an action to end those vibrations. At that point, the target makes a Constitution save. If they fail, they die.
What?
If they succeed, they take 10d10 necrotic damage.
What the fuck is this?
Have you ever seen Fists of the North Star? It's an old anime.
No, I've heard of it. I haven't seen it.
It's a lot of kung fu fighting, but this kind of reminds me of like there's a thing in that show, and I've only ever seen clips. I haven't actually watched the show where like the main character I think like hits somebody in a specific way, and there's like this long silence where nothing happens, and then all of a sudden the person he punches explodes.
Hell yes.
That's what I see this as. that's what this monk can do.
That is wild.
Yeah, it's fucking insane.
In my head,
God.
it was like the 5 fingers of death. It was like all
Yeah.
you do, you just like poke
Fucking
people
Kill
and like
Bill.
these like 5 deadly pressure points all over their body, and then like suddenly they're just like their body just like falls apart.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's exactly what it's like.
Oh
It's
my
ridiculous.
I want to be a monk so bad right
I know.
now.
Okay, so that's Way of the Open Hand. Let's talk about Way of the Shadow, which is really cool. So one thing I've noticed in 5e in general, and in the monk, is that the more flavorful a class option or any option is, the less powerful it is.
Okay.
I think without a doubt, the Way of the Open Hand is the most powerful of the 3. Just like the champion is kind of the most powerful of the 3 archetypes for the fighter. And the Eldritch Knight, the most flavorable, is the least powerful by far.
Does that go with the Arcane Trickster for the rogue too? It seems like it's got some power in it.
Yeah, that one's a little different. But
Okay.
but the Way of Shadow is at this point you are the shadow assassin. You are the ninja in this case.
Cool.
You're going to get an ability called Shadow Arts, where you can use your key to cast one of 3 spells. You can cast the Darkness spell, Pass Without a Trace, and the Silence spell. Again, stealth.
Really cool.
Stealth.
Magical darkness is fucked up in this game.
Yeah, stealth, silence, darkness, death. That's what you do.
Nice.
Later on, you get Shadow Step, where you can. I love this one.
This
you
is
can
the shit right
teleport.
here.
Yeah, you can teleport within 60 feet between places that have dim light or darkness. Yeah,
Are you serious?
yeah. So you just fucking hop
Poof,
through
poof,
shadows.
poof.
Yeah.
Wow.
Imagine if you're running an Underdark campaign.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're just super broken.
Yeah,
down
you're
there. Okay.
absolutely broken.
It also
later on,
it comes down to what your DM like determines as a shadow. This is also like the thing with hide.
Oh, that's fair.
It's like what you're allowed to hide. You can hide behind something that is one size larger than you. And yeah, there's a lot of difference between what's medium and what's large. But it's like then it determines like what is a shadow. Is a warforged standing in a field and the sun is beating down? Like, is that a shadow? If you're standing that far away and like then there's a wagon. Like you can literally run through sunlight if enough things are standing properly in front of the light.
Interesting.
Well, the rules is written. Actually, I don't think they say shadow. I maybe I have to go back and reread it. I think it literally says dim light or darkness.
Oh yeah, it does. But it's like how much money can you smuggle to your DM so you can run through a field?
Yeah,
right.
That's true. Like how many shadows got to be in an area for it to be considered dim light?
I try to go as real world as possible with things like this.
Yeah.
Like, how would this work in like Earth, basically?
Right. Final ability for the Way of Shadows is called Opportunist, which it's pretty cool. It's nowhere near as cool as a Quivering Palm, but you get opportunity attacks whenever an ally hits an enemy that is within 5 feet of you.
Okay.
So
cool.
you just get extra hits.
That's really
Again,
sweet. Actually,
it's really sweet, but I mean, it's no Quivering Palm. Eric, any other thoughts on the Way of Shadow?
I just think that like if you want to be a Way of Shadow monk, you should be a rogue.
An assassin rogue is probably better.
And like
Yeah,
it's
it already
cool.
sounds like
I
that.
think that it's just the key doesn't stand up. Like if you want to do pass without a trace, that's awesome. Talk to your magic user. Like if you're
Right.
level 3 and then you only have 3 key points, you're gonna use 2/3 of your key points to cast silence.
Yeah,
I mean that's
it's-
such like that's such a waste. If your DM like when I was playing Budweiser, you remember him from the early
Yes.
episode. He was covered in tattoos, and he just had like the most like gaudy Ed Hardy tattoos all over his body, in like a Moana sort of way. How like they moved a
Cool.
little bit.
I like
And
that.
the
That's
thing
cool.
is, like, I kept trying to convince my DM to like put a tattoo shop somewhere so that I would get like more key. So it's like you
that's
can't
cool.
give me a head, like you can't give me a helmet, but like I really need some key. Like, please help me.
yes, I'm with that.
Yeah, I gotta say, I think The Way of Shadows is probably my least favorite of the 3. But now time for my my most favorite of the 3.
Okay.
The Way of the Four Elements.
Ooh.
Now, granted, again, this one's very flavorful and arguably less powerful than the other two. Maybe not so. I don't know. But in this one, you basically, with your key, you're able to tap into the 4 elements of the world in D&D: earth, wind, fire, and water, and do all kinds of dope ass magical shit with them.
I love
some
dope
of
ass magical
yeah,
shit.
Some of it costs a lot of key. Some of
Okay.
it not so much. But basically, it's much like the Warlock gains. Oh my god, what's the feature called? The invocations.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Warlocks gain invocations as they level. The way the 4 elements works very similarly, where you gain disciplines of the elements as you level, and that's it. No other list of shit. It's just you gain more and more of these.
Okay.
One that every elemental monk gets is they get the elemental attunement, which is basically like kind of like prestidigitation for a wizard with some extra stuff thrown on it. So you could do like sensory effects and stuff with the elements.
That's
but
always really handy.
you can also manipulate any element into like shapes and sensory effects as well.
Nice.
Like, I think you can manipulate.
Can you like freeze water?
I don't know if you could freeze it, but you can make it.
You can
like, shape into something.
chill or warm up to 1 pound of non-living material, so not even water, for up to 1 hour.
Yeah, there you go. Now, can you freeze it? I don't know, but
Can
you
you
can
chill
it.
someone's blood in
I
their
think-
body?
Yeah, I would not allow that.
Oh yeah, okay.
It has to be non-living.
This
All this
is some
stuff.
blood
Oh, that is
bender-
living, non-living.
This is some bloodbender
Yeah.
ass shit, and I do not.
That's what I was
understand as an
Yeah,
av-
no-
as a earthbender. I think that's fucked up, and I think you should stop.
It is. It is really fucked up.
Yeah, I can only do it when the full moon's out.
So-
It's cool.
So I don't want to go through. I don't want to go through all the discipline because there's a ridiculous amount. But I just chose some 4 random ones,
Okay.
just to show you showcase what the elemental monk can do. So here's one: Fangs of the Fire Snake. This costs 1 key point, and it makes it so that your fists do an extra D10 of extra fire damage for a round.
Ooh.
So that's dope.
Cool.
For 4 key, you can do Mist Dance, which basically you cast the gaseous form on yourself and you're incorporeal now.
Oh.
For 4 key points, you can cast Ride the Wind and cast Fly on yourself. Now you can fly.
What the fuck?
And for 2 key points, I love this one. You get Water Whip. and you can create a whip of water and target someone within 30 feet of you. They have to make a dexterity save. If they fail, they take 3d10 plus 1d10 per key point that you spent on top of it of bludgeoning damage, and you can choose to either knock them pro or pull them all the way to you.
That is legitimate. That is really, really cool.
And so those are just some of the things the Elemental Monk can do. Any other thoughts on the Avatar: The Last Airbender?
Yeah, right? No, I've seen the show.
I really like the idea of this monk living amongst non-magic users.
Right.
I think it also functions in the same way that the Arcane Trickster does. I think it kind of gives an edge up on the people. Like if they were... Something I don't think we think about in D&D is that your party is kind of strange. I mean, classes kind of run together, races kind of run together.
Yeah.
But if you're going out
Adventures
as
are-
a party... But if you're living only within your own class, I mean, these guys who can just like kind of throw out magic whenever they want, that makes them better than their monastery or better than their own thieves guild.
Right.
And I think that you need something like a magic flavored X in order to like, I mean, we also have like the Eldritch Knight, which could fill in like the magical fighter in that way as
Right.
well. So I think that there's like kind of, you need to acknowledge the existence of magic. And what if it was a magic only campaign, or sorry, no magic campaign? Then like these
Well, it's kinda
people
like
would be crazy. It's like not
Yeah,
only punch them in the
absolutely.
face, but then like fire comes out of your hand.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. These guys would super shine in a zero magic setting.
Yeah, and you see that shit as an NPC and you shit your pants.
Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely. And you know what? Like I said again, like flavor seems to outbalance mechanics a lot in this game. So like, it despite the way the four elements being probably the weakest and maybe even the least useful,
But it
it's
sounds
still
the
my
coolest.
favorite,
Yeah.
and it's still probably what I would run.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think we've covered our bases, and I don't think I have anything else to add on the monk. Does anyone have any last thoughts before we call it a game?
So I just want to put this out because, like, we were talking about that image that you guys were talking about earlier.
Oh, yeah.
So Goku is a monk, right?
Yeah, he's definitely a way of the open hand monk, I would say.
Okay, just making
Or
sure.
actually, no. Like, there's other technique or traditions. I think there's like a radiant monk of the sun that can just blast laser beams.
So that's
good.
Goku.
That's Goku.
Okay.
That's Goku.
Well, that could also be Ryu as well. Like
Or that.
It's
Yes.
basically a Hadouken, if I'm saying that right.
Yeah.
yeah, Hadouken, yeah.
I'm just used to like mumbling it as I like try to like motion it. It's like Hadouken. So I don't think I've ever said it just like straight on like that.
That's too funny. But
No,
yeah,
that's all I got.
that's all you got. All right, guys. Well, Eric, it was wonderful having you on. Thanks for coming on, man. And let's call it a game.
Let's call it a game, guys.
All right, good
All right,
game,
thanks for
everybody.
listening.
Good game.
See
We'll
you
talk to
next
you later.
time.
See you later.